Hey guys, so today I decided I wanted to do a more serious topic video. I kind of had sudden inspiration. I was actually watching a Zoella video. I found a video by her a while ago actually where she talks about her struggle with panic disorder and anxiety, and I could relate because I had panic disorder and anxiety. I still have anxiety. It's something I'm still dealing with, that I probably will be dealing with for the rest of my life. She explained it very well. I would definitely recommend watching her video. So you can find the link to hers in the description. It inspired me to make a video kind of telling my own anxiety story, maybe opening some people's eyes to what exactly panic disorder and anxiety is, how it can affect the person's daily life, ways that people can be insensitive without even knowing it, I guess. First things first, let's talk about what is anxiety and panic disorder. Those are two different things, but they do come hand in hand, and panic disorder comes from anxiety. Anxiety is just, the feeling of being worried and scared and nervous. As a disorder, panic disorder, it kind of turns into these things called panic attacks. Panic attacks are just kind of where all of your anxiety just comes to like a point and just goes like, and it doesn't feel good. Panic attacks basically happen because your anxiety gets to this point where it's practically making up bad situations or making you feel fear and anxiety when you don't really need to feel that, or you're in a situation that doesn't make any sense to feel that way. When I had them a lot, or when I had the worst of them, your heart starts beating really fast and you feel like you can't breathe because your heart is beating so fast. Your throat tightens up, you start to feel lightheaded. You feel sometimes nauseous, parts of your body, if it's really bad, sometimes parts of your body can become numb. I'm really bad at describing this, I'm so sorry. I'm going to hopefully very briefly tell my background on it and my story. Looking back on it, I kind of feel like my anxiety might have started as far back as elementary school. By like 5th or 6th grade, I was getting bullied. And then going into middle school was like the worst time of my life. I was bullied so bad that it got to the point where I didn't want to go to school. I would try so hard to skip school and pretend that I was sick. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I was too scared. That was probably the beginning of my anxiety because I couldn't really speak. I didn't know how to have a voice or speak. It ended in me just having my grades dropped because I kept skipping school. Basically, like, they didn't end up letting me walk at the promotion at 8th grade, going to 9th grade. I'm probably lucky that they even let me promote to high school. Before I even got to high school was when I experienced my first panic attack. It was the summer before freshman year of high school, and me and my parents and my grandma went on a trip to Mammoth. We were driving up the mountain. We were like almost there. We got to this road that was like really like curvy, and it was on the side of like a cliff. I've never been someone who got motion sickness. I still don't get motion sick. All of a sudden my brain started like making up stuff. My brain was like, if I was someone sensitive to motion sickness, I would feel horrible right now on this road. And then I started to feel motion sick. I didn't understand at the time. I just thought I was motion sick randomly for no reason. So I started getting all the symptoms I mentioned before. Like I couldn't breathe, and I was nauseous, and I was dizzy, and I started flipping out in the car, and I made my parents pull over, and I got out of the car. I thought I was gonna throw up. Nothing happened. That was my first panic attack, and the whole rest of the vacation I felt that same way. It really sucked, and I blamed it on elevation. I was like, maybe the elevation is weirdly affecting me. We come home and I was like, okay, so it's elevation sickness, so when I come home it's gonna be fine. And it was for a while, but it only took like a couple weeks when I had another panic attack. But I was like at the bowling alley with my friends. I thought there was something like medically wrong with me. So I did the thing that you probably shouldn't normally do, but it's actually how I managed to self-diagnose myself, was I went on WebMD and did the symptom checker thing. The one thing that came up at the very top was panic disorder. And I was like, I really think I have this. I think the rest of the struggle after that was me trying to convince my parents and the people around me that that was what it was. I went to high school. My attendance problems came back. I wasn't really necessarily getting bullied anymore because luckily those people grew up and stopped caring. I was getting panic attacks almost every day. I would get them in class. I would have to like run to the bathroom and hide in there. Sometimes I would like get a panic attack at lunchtime and then go in the bathroom and sit in there throughout like an entire class and skip class. And of course, the staff noticed me missing all these days and skipping classes randomly, and they kept punishing me and doing all this stuff, and my parents were getting so mad at me because they didn't understand. And I remember telling my mom that I thought I had panic disorder and trying to explain it to her, and my parents just kind of were like, oh, well, okay, so do you need like medication or what? So like they took me to like our general doctor, who just kind of threw some random pills at me and didn't really understand because he was just a general doctor and not like a psychologist. He just kind of like gave me these pills. They made me nauseous. The next few years were just a back and forth of me trying to tell my parents that I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not purposely skipping school and behaving badly. It was just, I have panic disorder. It had turned into what I think they call agoraphobia, which is the fear of like leaving your house or being away from a place where you feel comfortable, and you get scared that you're gonna have a panic attack if you leave that place. I remember a lot of horrible things. It got to the point where the school kept punishing me and bringing me into the office and like yelling at me, and they were getting fed up, and I remember them sending like a cop to my house more than once when I was skipping school. Like they noticed that I wasn't there, and then they send the cop, and the cop would come and just like lecture me at my house. And I remember them having me do this really scary like conference thing with my parents where we had to go to the police station. It was like the head of somewhere in the district of school and some like police people, and they were telling me that skipping school was against the law, and that if I kept doing it, they were gonna send me to like a juvenile disciplinary place, basically like jail. Luckily, they did not send me there, but in my sophomore year, they got really fed up and they did kick me out of school and sent me to a continuation school. I went there and I felt like I did not belong there at all. All the guys that were there were in a gang. All the girls like smoked pot. They all drank and partied, and we were like 16 at the time, and I was like, what is my life? At this point, my parents kind of got the idea that I had a thing going on and that I needed help of some sort. So they started trying to find me like a psychologist, but they weren't going about the right way. They were kind of going like, my daughter's misbehaving and she needs help. So I was kind of being thrown from like one psychologist to the other, with them telling me to just get my act together and telling my parents different ways to like punish me, and it felt horrible. After spending most of my sophomore year at the continuation school, I was like, I need to get back to my old high school. I managed to convince them to let me come back for junior year. Then I went back and I was like, cool, this is it. I'm gonna be a good student now and I'm gonna do it. And it only took like a couple months for me to go back to like missing school and freaking out all the time. I was like, why can't I just make myself do this? Finally, my mom kind of had this moment of like, I think she started crying one morning, and she was just finally like, okay, you know what? I finally can see that you can't control what's going on. After all this time, I can finally understand that there's something going on. And I was like, finally, but so much damage had been done already. So much damage. My mom finally got me like the right psychologist. and she was amazing, and I probably wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing now today if we hadn't found her. She did prescribe me some pills. They were very low dosage. I did take them for a while, but I'm kind of convinced they might not have really done much for me. Probably wasn't taking the pills as much as I should have, but basically what ended up happening was I just didn't take the pills anymore, and I kind of, now that I had the psychologist, he helped me understand where everything was coming from and why panic attacks happen, and it helped me come up with a way to stop them from happening, or to at least keep them from being so bad and have them keep me from doing what I want to do. I basically finally got to the point where I wasn't having panic attacks anymore, and I could handle myself for the most part, and it felt so good. Unfortunately, at that point, I was doing so much better, but my school just still didn't understand. So they kicked me out again towards the end of my junior year, and they were like, well, this is it. Like, you can't come back after this. We're not gonna let you. We're not gonna deal with it anymore. So they told me either continuation school or go to independent study. So of course I chose independent study. I did it for like the few months, that I had left in my junior year, and I was like, is there a way I could just get out of this? Like, I am so screwed over. I'm not gonna be able to graduate with my class at all. There must be some way. And there was this counselor at the school who was probably the nicest person, one of the nicest people at my high school in the staff, and his name was Mr. Bizogno. He also helped out with independent study and stuff, so he was there. And he was like, have you heard of the California Proficiency Exam? The California High School Proficiency Exam was kind of like taking your GED, except you don't have to like get credits for it. All you do is just take the test, and if you pass it, then you're out. You're good. I took the test like immediately that summer, and I passed it on the first try. And as sad as I was to not be able to graduate with my class and not be a senior, I've never had a senior year. It was probably the best decision ever. If I had to thank anybody at that high school at all, because most of them treated me like crap, I would have to thank Mr. Bizogno. Also rest in peace, because he passed away a couple years ago. And I have to absolutely thank Miss Gilmore, who was my broadcast journalism teacher, which is probably why I'm here on YouTube right now. She was so supportive of me. Basically, that's kind of the end of the main anxiety story for me. That leads me to this next part, which is the how am I doing now part. I don't remember the last time I had a panic attack, like a real panic attack, which is great. But I still have anxiety about things. And I think I still get more nervous about things than most people do, more worrisome than most people. These are things I am very aware of, which is like a blessing and a curse at the same time. My sleeping patterns, they are bad most of the time, absolutely horrible. I must have developed some sort of sleep disorder, which I think my psychologist actually did mention at one point. The anxiety of having to wake up at a certain time and be somewhere at a certain time the next day. I can't sleep, and I sleep in, which caused me to be late to stuff. And it's a long, vicious cycle. And my friends get so mad at me all the time, but you have to understand that, like, it's something I can barely control. The worst thing is that I think I stress too much about things and I worry too much. There's these phrases that kind of just set me off when people say them, and it makes me like cry, and it's like so bad. It's happened to me like a lot recently too. So there's certain things that people say to me that set me off, and one of them is be more aggressive. Don't be so hesitant. It's really honestly part of me to be hesitant and sometimes not be very aggressive, to really get in there and like do the thing or get in there and talk to the person. I really try my best to push through that, and it usually doesn't work out. And I feel bad because most of the time when I get that comment, it's from my managers at work or the person that I work for. I didn't want to just make this video just to like tell my story, although I do feel a lot better now that this video is going to be going up and that people that I interact with all the time or even my friends that might not really understand it will now see and like understand why I am the way that I am. I want people to use my story and my experience to help them understand panic disorder, and not just panic disorder, but just how, you know, other mental health things work. If someone says they have something, or like if someone says like I have depression, or someone says I have panic disorder, I have anxiety, I just really urge you to be so sympathetic and just try to understand how they feel and put yourself in their shoes and understand that this isn't something that we can just stop doing and stop feeling. You need to understand that this is something that we can't always control and something that we're constantly living with, and that all we really want from you is just support and help. Offer to listen. And if you know someone who has depression or anxiety or anything, or someone that you think might have that, then you really should try to urge them to find help, because I still don't know where I would be at this point if I didn't eventually end up with a good psychologist. I wish I could be there for just everybody that feels like this and goes through this, and but I don't know a way to do that. I didn't quite do much research before I made this video. I don't really know of any organizations or anything. The best that I could think of is if you go to middle school or high school or college, maybe talk to a principal or someone that's really high up in the ranks at your school and see if they can arrange to get a speaker to come to the school and maybe talk about mental health things. Even if only like 50 people watch this, then it's fine, because I feel good knowing that maybe I helped maybe one person understand, and or even helped one person who also is dealing with anxiety but doesn't even realize what it is, and now they know that I'm here and I can help you, or that people will help you and that you shouldn't be afraid to speak up. This is something that you can live with and that you'll be okay. Feel free in the comments to just discuss this, you know, or ask questions or anything like that. I will see you guys next time. Bye!